Hey Gil, welcome once again to another webisode of WYGD. I'm Paolo Kernahan, because I'm too old to correct people. So it's that time of year again, or is it? We're in a strange kind of place, a sort of a zero nexus where the one thing that defines so many of us will, at least for this year, cease to exist: Carnival. Around this time, we'd normally be bumping our gums about selling blood or baby batter, if you can spare it, to pay for UEFET tickets. Folks would be exercising furiously to get that doughy belly into a costume designed for the U of 1989. Then, of course, there's the guess what Patrice Roberts had done game. It's also that time when people who are 24/7 alcoholics become, well, just people. It's the one time of year that all the X-layers get dolled up and squeezed into those shorts that must feel like a sausage casing. Of course, the guys, normally you'd be forcing yourself into shirts 4 sizes too small for you, with the buttons straining like a what. It can feel like a lot to keep up with, but for 2021, all of that is thankfully out of the window. There is no carnival as we know it. COVID-19 has put the kibosh on that. No bank loans to pay for fetes, frontline costumes, lip fillers, nails, a new outfit for each outing, hair extensions, and cotton candy dyes. Think of all the money you'll save. What a waste! I read somewhere reactions to an alleged story referring to the potential psychological impact of there being no carnival this year. And we live in a country where we are constantly under threat of home invasion or getting attacked as we go for a walk by cutlass-wielding bandits. I don't hear too many people talking about counseling for any of that. What about the trauma ravaging all the people stuck outside of this country for nearly an entire year? If they ever get back home, they'll be eating Xanax like spees for the rest of their lives. Somehow I think we'll get by if we miss liming in a panyard or wobbling on your ankles while urinating in a side street in St. Clair just this once. You don't need the most average show on earth to put a good horn on the hubby. Although it's often argued that Carnival is a solid month-long coping therapy. It occupies our minds and thoughts entirely for an extended period, effectively numbing us to the true nature of the country we live in. Without the artifice of this festival, the illusion will collapse and the hellscape that is TNT will be revealed. So there may be merit in that argument. Carnival is the blue pill many of us desperately need. So yeah, people will definitely have missed out, especially on the all-inclusive party season. No spending thousands of dollars to eat fancy food standing up. Because yeah, when I go to a party, the one thing that's at the top of my mind is, well, will the menu be up to scratch? You're also missing out on the privilege of entering a portable toilet that looks like a mountain lion got into a disagreement with the toilet paper. Then, of course, there's the jump up on Carnival Monday and Tuesday, where you spend even more money to buy 2 parade outfits. Monday wear, which is basically a stripped-down bathing costume you put on to keep your Tuesday wear absolutely pristine, right up until the point when you throw it into the garbage on Tuesday night. But no chipping down the street, no whining on vagrants who get swept up in the band as it flows through the city like a river come down. COVID-19 would really make mass on days like this, so you have to keep your ass quiet at home. But do you really? There was chatter about a virtual carnival. Now, I consider myself a fairly open-minded, imaginative person, but I can't for the life of me visualize what a virtual carnival would look like. Carnival without the street parade is like a Sex and the City reboot without Samantha, the HILF who put promise back in promiscuity. Now, there was one traditional FET promoter pushing a virtual reality version of a regular annual seasonal highlight, but I don't know if the people who use those virtual reality headsets are the kind of people to go to Carnival FETs anyway. I think if you try to whine on a bumper with one of those nerd sets on, you might put your head through a plate glass window. Still, I give the promoters an A for effort. Rather than sit down and accept things as they are, they went out on a limb to try to use technology to reimagine Carnival. The reviews so far of that virtual reality FET are mixed. And by mixed, I mean not good. Well, the ones I read anyway. Besides, how would you horn your spouse in a virtual FET? Can you choose from a selection of virtual deputies? And what about virtual condoms or virtual erythromycin for, well, you never know how those rubbers will hold up under the forces of friction, particularly since when you're fumbling in the dark, no one has the time to check the expiry date on the pineapple-flavored Durex. Now, if you were looking for innovation, The NCC, the National Cretaceous Commission, certainly wasn't your best bet. You don't invite a hammer to perform at a piano recital. NCC Chairman Winston Gypsy Peters explains there couldn't be any NCC-staged carnival events because there wouldn't be any crowds. Well, with the greatest of disrespect, these shows could hardly ever be accused of drawing crowds. Shows like Dimanche Gras were social distancing for probably a full decade before the pandemic was a twinkle in Wuhan's eye. I wouldn't be surprised if there were nutsmen throwing nuts to nutsmen sitting in the sparsely occupied stands. It's understandable that COVID-19 would change the face of Carnival, but for the NCC to simply do nothing is just madness, and yet it's exactly what you'd expect. Think about it though. The NCC has been staging live televised events for decades. These events could simply have been overhauled to be funneled at an online audience. No more 12-hour shows. Reduce the number of contestants in the Dimanche Gras show. Any tune with more than 3 verses is a sermon, and the internet is no church. Any track that starts like this, well, the government don't really care about we in this country. All our look at it, half nothing in the pantry. Those had to be out. Online audiences are different from the local television audiences who are sitting at home on their couches covered in a man-sized doily. So online content has to be expertly packaged, sharp and engaging. But to simply sit back and do nothing at all, that is more than disappointing. It's shockingly stupid. Look, there will probably be a carnival next year, but this was a great opportunity though to help the festival evolve, reach different audiences, change the way we celebrate our culture. Instead of leading the charge to creatively reshape one of the biggest national cultural calendar events, the NCC says, nah, we'll just take a sabbatical. Maybe it's time to retire those living dinosaur exhibits in the National Museum and put Carnival in the hands of the private sector. Until then, though, we will have to ferment our tears and drink deeply of the sorrow of a lost opportunity to free up ourselves. What are you gonna do?